Turkey has been described as a naturalist's paradise, though until recently there has been no systematic study of wildlife. It therefore offers great opportunities. For instance, a group of ruddy shelduck this size is a most unusual sight, as the bird is on the decline in Europe. The end of summer in Eber, in the heart of central Anatolia, a typical Turkish village. About 3,000 people live here, subsisting on a frugal sort of farming and labour in the reed beds of Lake Eber. One or two of the better off own tractors, but for the most part, transport is by donkey or horse. Occasionally there's a cart drawn by water buffalo or oxen. Mixed herds of donkey and cattle, which the villagers raise and sell, are driven through the rough streets as the village comes to life in the early morning. They go to graze on the village's thin gruel of pasture. The most lucrative occupation in Eber is harvesting reeds from the nearby lake, and stacks of reeds are stood to dry along the lakeside. As they're cut, the greenish, pliable rushes, like the reeds, are laid out to dry. Harvested 3 times a year, they will be sold for the weaving of mats, pillows, curtains, mattresses and so on. Often the men set up a sort of tented encampment beside distant reed beds. These temporary homes save a long journey to and from the village each day. Reed beds are rich in bird life, and of particular interest to Richard, Allen and Tanzu in their search for new reserves. The great reed warbler, found in Europe but not in England. In the background, a female little crake, also not an English species. It's a shy bird feeding on insects which it picks from the water. This individual is probably pausing while on migration from Russia. Four people standing in a punt is not the safest way to travel, but with the high reeds providing cover for the birds, there's little option. A red-necked grebe. Grebes are expert divers, searching underwater for food. Here's its dive, shown in slow motion. A reed bunting. This eastern species is larger than the British. A great reed warbler again, on a precarious song perch. In England, the bearded tit can be seen only in the southeast. And the common reed warbler is a summer visitor to the southern half of Britain. A little bittern, a young one, identified because of the clearly defined stripes on neck, throat and breast. They disappear as the bird matures. The vertical stripes provide excellent camouflage for the young birds in their habitat of reeds and sedges. The little bittern is not found in Britain, though its relation, the common bittern, is. The channels among the reed beds have to be kept open all the year round, because men are continually at work on the lake. The reeds have to be moved to a central point for drying and for eventual sale. Punts are used as the lake is shallow for most of its 100 square miles. These are the large, strong type of reeds used for flooring, thatching, and in general construction work. After drying, they are loaded into lorries for transport and sale in the nearest large towns. So the harvesting and sale of reeds amounts to a small industry at Eber. There's apparently no such thing as an overloaded lorry in Turkey, only an overturned one. Local reeds are being used in the construction of houses in the village. The space between the timber frames is filled in with a sort of wattle, consisting of a mixture of mud and lime, used with a reinforcement of reeds. Many villagers band together to build their own houses. The mixture of mud and lime is used on the reed-thatched roofs. Spread evenly on the thatch, it provides good insulation. To the poor, necessity is often the mother of efficiency. Flat roofs provide grazing for household hens. They also yield an additional crop of hay. In Turkish villages, women still wear the veil, for in peasant communities the rules of Mohammedism are devoutly observed. The reforms instituted by Kemal Atatürk in the 1920s haven't made much headway in rural areas. Most work is still done manually, and where there has been modernization, it often strikes a freakish note. A public address system on top of a steel minaret to call the faithful to prayer. Life goes on as it used to be. This little girl will be expected when she grows up to take an inferior position. She will have to do most of the menial work, while the proud young men, descendants of a warrior people, will do only what is fitting to their duty and their dignity, while their elders sit. The southwestern coast of Turkey is fast developing into a tourist attraction, and airports and roads are being built. In the vicinity of the harbour town of Antalya, where once the armies of Alexander marched, the internal combustion chariot will roll. On the stretches of empty beaches, the sunbathers will ripen. Amidst the lovely scenery of the coastline, the hotels and cafes will sprout. Antalya seems set to become a Costa Brava of the future. And its present appeal, that of a small Mediterranean town going about its business, unself-conscious of its beauty and its past.